I'm going to show you how Trump is lying about winning the Alien Enemies Act decision and the the plane around decision. He did not win 9-0. Let me explain to you. The Alien Enemies Act, right, was created for times of when Congress has declared war, or when a foreign government has sent a group of people to invade our country. During those times, it is such an imminent threat of danger for any person from that country to be in our country that you get to skip due process and just send them out. You don't have to give them due process rights, because in the United States of America, per the Fifth Amendment, if you are within the jurisdictional bounds of the United States of America, whether you're legal, illegal, doesn't matter, right? You get due process. But if you invoke the Alien Enemies Act, you don't have to do that, because your country is in such a state of threat, of emergency, of danger for your citizens, that you're allowed to send people away without their due process rights. That's why they selected this act, right? The point of it was so that they could send them away without due process. So what happened is, here, the court said, sure, you're the one that gets to decide whether or not the Alien Enemies Act is appropriate. Sure, but that's the equivalent of Michael Scott declaring bankruptcy in the office, right? You get to do that, that's fine. Nevertheless, every single person that you put on that plane gets due process. Remember, the reason the Alien Enemies Act exists is so that you can deport people without due process. It's the whole point of it, right? Because it's so dangerous that you don't have to pay attention to their rights. So let me read this to you. So this is from supremecourt.gov. Okay. And by the way, this is the Supreme Court that overturned Roe. This is the Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade. This is a very conservative Supreme Court, okay? Although judicial review under the Alien Enemies Act is limited, we have held that an individual subject to detention and removal under that statute is entitled to judicial review as to questions of interpretation and constitutionality of the act, as well as whether he or she is in fact an alien enemy 14 years of age or older. The detainee's rights against summary removal, however, are not currently in dispute. The government expressly agrees that Trinidad members subject to removal under the Alien Enemies Act get judicial review. It is well established that the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of law in the context of removal proceedings. So, the detainees are entitled to notice and opportunity to be heard appropriate to the nature of the case. More specifically, in this context, AEA, meaning Alien Enemies Act, detainees must receive notice after the date of this order that they are subject to removal under the Act. The notice must be afforded within a reasonable time and in such a manner as will allow them to actually seek habeas relief in the proper venue before such removal occurs. I don't mean to read the whole thing, but let me just read the very end here, right? So it says, for all the rhetoric of the dissents, right? Because this is the opinion, not the dissent. For all the rhetoric of the dissents, today's order and per curiam confirm that the detainees subject to removal orders under the AEA are entitled to notice and an opportunity to challenge their removal. The only question is which court will resolve that challenge. For the reasons set forth, we hold that venue lies in the district of confinement, right? So they said you need to start over and go back to the district where they were confined. That's it. That's the entire point of the Alien Enemies Act, is to be able to deport people without due process. They said every single person on that plane gets due process. This is not a win.